So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to talk about next month's presenter. Teresa Peters. She's a Master of Social Worker, right? So we'll have Teresa come up and just speak for a few minutes and let you know what she's going to be talking about.
Thank you, Kevin. I remember doing it. Good evening, everybody. I'm glad large crowds make me nervous, so I'm okay. Well, my name's Teresa Peters, and I have a master's in social work. And the reason why I'll be taking the stage next month is because I'll be talking about a new project I'm working on. It's called Living Beyond the Numbers. And it has a lot to do with my journey through diagnosis and discovery through cancer. And with that being said, there's so many different things that happen when you're diagnosed, and the process that you go through, the grieving process, and all those things that go with it. You learn a lot about yourself in the journey. And I learned how to laugh. I learned how to do things that I've never done before. I learned how to step into things that were amazingly hard, and they ended up just being spirit-driven, wonderful things in my life. So part of my idea is that I want to get out to the people that all you have to do is make one choice when you're diagnosed. Because I have what they call a terminal illness. And that's kind of hard to hear when you sit in the doctor's office and they say, you're terminal. And I was like, that's not good. That's not good for anybody to hear. And it took about a week for me to actually start to understand what that meant for me, and all the testing and everything that happens when you're first diagnosed. It's like your body's no longer yours. You start doing naked Pilates and all kinds of stuff. It's really sad. Yes. And so during that time, I remember there was a specific time and date. I'll never forget it because my whole family was just extremely sad. We had 4 foster kids, our own kids. I had a business, and everything was huge in my life. I was making money, lots of money. I was successful. You know what? Not one part of me was happy, though. And part of being diagnosed was, are you freaking kidding me? All this and this too? So sitting there in this recliner going, I don't want to do this another day. And my family was just like, you have to fight. You have to fight. You can't leave yet. You have to fight. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I've done my whole life. I've fought. I fought to be seen. I fought to be heard. I fought through all those things. And I remember just kicking back and going, you know what? Nope. I'm done. They're like, no, don't be done. I'm like, no, I'm surrendering. I'm done fighting. Whatever my life is supposed to be, it's going to be. If I have 5 weeks or 5 months or 5 years or 5 decades, I don't know. But I'm not going to live like I have cancer. I'm not going to live like it's going to stop everything that I do. And actually what it did is it prompted me to be everything and more. I'm like, what would I do if I knew I was going to die? Well, I wanted to be a therapist. I was already one, but never got paid for it. So it's like, oh, well, I'll go back to school. And this was right after diagnosis. And I had a couple associate's degrees, but nothing higher. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start school. And everybody's like, okay. I went all the way through to my master's program. I got my master's degree, and even from the beginning, I just went right into remission. I never came out. So part of my talk next month will be about how do you make those choices? How do you step into you? And how, when you're scared to death, you still step forward. So if you get a chance to come see me, you'll get to hear a little bit more about my story. So blessings.
Thanks, Teresa. Nice work. All right, so we're going to have Dan Hogg, hypnotist, going to introduce Kimberly for us.
Hi, well, it's great to be here. It's great to be here for a really nice person, actually. Kimberly is somebody that I met when I first moved here. to Salem. One thing that struck me about the person that's going to address you now is that she actually believes in what she does. And she believes in it so much because of where she came from. The health problems that she was struggling with, her fight, her discussions with doctors, her maybe not believing what the doctors had to say, and her search for finding an alternative way to actually get her health back. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce KimberlyFIcklin. Give her a nice round of applause because she is an awesome woman.
Okay, thanks Dan for that, and thank you Kevin for inviting me, and thank you for all of you to be here tonight, take your time out of a busy schedule to spend it with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you get out of tonight everything that I plan on you getting out of it. So let me put this down here. I've got a lot of information for you, so I will be reading off some notes because there's statistics that I have to share, and I can't remember all that in my head. Can you hear me? Okay, so first of all, it's Happy Earth Day. Today's Earth Day, so we'd like to say Happy Earth Day to you. This is a very appropriate talk for this day. So I guess, thanks babe. My husband's clicking for me, so we'll work that through. I'm just going to start by telling you my story. Like Dan had said, that I was sick, so I'll just let you know what my story was and how I got brought to this place. I guess it's been about 4 years now that I became ill. It was onset for no reason, it just happened, and I was very ill. So I had chronic nausea, stomach issues, pain, all kinds of really bad things, and doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So it was about a year of a lot of different testing, and again, they just couldn't find out what was wrong. So every time what they would do is say, oh, you know, you have stomach cramping, let's give you this medication. Then you have this, let's give you this, let's give you this, let's give you this. And in the end, honestly, I thought I was losing my mind because nobody could tell me what was wrong with me. And so then they put me on Prozac because they said, oh, you're going crazy, so here, have some Prozac. So 10 medications later, I was more sick than I was to start with because I was having a lot of symptoms off of the medications, side effects. I was not better at all. I had all the same symptoms I had before. And the doctors finally did one last test for me. This is not comfortable. And it's called a gastric emptying study. And what they found out is that I don't digest my food properly. So if we all sat down in the morning to eat, we hadn't eaten yet, we all ate the same thing, everybody in about 6 hours would be digested. I would still have about 25% of that left in my stomach. That caused the chronic nausea, the pain, those kind of things. So great, woohoo, I'm not crazy. We found out what was wrong with me, right? Great, wonderful, what are we gonna do about that? Nothing. There is nothing that can be done for you, Kimberly. There is no FDA-approved medication for your condition, so you will be sick for the rest of your life, and you will spend your life on these medications. And I just couldn't live with that. I was devastated. I was already I was so stressed out. I was so sick. I couldn't even imagine having that quality of life forever and ever. So I had already I had found a company that I was using their green cleaners. And they have a whole bunch of different stuff, supplements, natural supplementation. And so I thought, well, why am I not looking at that? You know, why am I not looking at some other options? Well, I wasn't looking at it because the doctors had never given me those options. They never told me, take a probiotic. Wow, that'll help your stomach out. They never said any of it. So I started looking into this more, right? And what I did was I would say, okay, what product can I use for this symptom? And then I would remove my medication, I'd try this product, and when it worked, not only did it work, but I would become better, like progressively better. So I would do that with each of mine. Each medication until 10 medications later, I was not on medication. I take no medications now. It's been about a year and a half. I harbor no symptoms of my previous ailment. I am not sick. I have no problems digesting. And I haven't actually had the test done yet, but I'm guessing if I went and had it done, they would say, you digest properly. So that's really what drew me to natural nutrition and green living and holistic living and changing my lifestyle. Because what I realized was that I was lacking in nutrition. I just didn't have enough of it, and so I needed to put that back in. Now, that sparked a passion for me to teach other people to be proactive rather than reactive. So that's what I teach now is let's not wait until something happens to try something new. Let's be preventative and think about it from that perspective instead. Because we literally are what we eat, really. And so I love going around and doing what I'm doing right now and sharing with people and teaching people how to use natural nutrition, how to get off of their medications. My husband's off of his medications as well. He took statins and blood pressure medication, and he doesn't take any of that anymore either. And we can talk all about that later, and I'd love to talk with anybody who has those types of medications that are really detrimental to our system, and I'd love to talk to you about that. But tonight, we're talking about kids. Because if we start talking preventative, and we start them from here up, or even from infancy really up, chances of them becoming healthy adults are very high. Sorry, are we having troubles? Okay. And so that's why I want everybody to start thinking about what we can do for our kids before they start to get sick. Now, unfortunately, what's happening is our children are very ill already. We are producing the most ill, obese, and sick generation of children than any of the previous before. And that has a lot to do with the way what we eat, the processing of our foods and sugars and all kinds of things like that. We'll get into all of that as we go along in the talk. So I guess what we can do is just go ahead and get started on the slides. Okay, so let's talk first about the challenges to our kids' health today. So what stands out to me in this slide is that in 1976 to 1980, only 6% of children, 6 to 17, were obese, and in 2010, about 18%. And now we're in 2014, so guess in 20 to 22, we can always increase that. And what happens then is when our children are obese, they start to get adult diseases, ones that we used to only talk about for adults, diabetes, cancers, those types of things that really only were adult diseases before. Okay, so here are some facts that are a little bit frightening. Type 2 diabetes is on the rise. Asthma, 1 out of every 13 children has asthma. Physical development is poor nutrition is very negatively impacts bone health, brain health, and poor nutrition can result in poor school performance as well. So has anybody in here ever heard of an IEP program? Okay, so I'm very familiar with that because my son was diagnosed with ADHD when he was young. It's been about 20 years now, he was about 6, and they put him on an IEP program. And I didn't know then what I know now. So when they gave me medications for him, I gave them to him. And I can remember times when the poor kid he'd lay his head in my lap because his headaches were so bad. I'd have to rub his head. He couldn't eat. He was like a zombie. And I didn't know how to handle that. All I knew is that I needed to continue to give him the medication because he was doing a little bit better in school than he was before. He kind of calmed down a bit. But he ended up going off the medication, doing his own thing. And fast forward, I don't know, about 5 years ago, whenever I was diagnosed with ADHD, and they put me on the medication, and I could only do it for a day. I did one for a day, it was miserable. I tried another one, I tried 3 of them, and they were horrible. They gave me headaches, I was a zombie, I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and I was in tears thinking about what I had put my child through. You know, just not even knowing, because we don't know what we're doing when we're handing medications to our kids. We don't know how it's affecting them. So autoimmune disease is one of the top 10 leading causes of death in female, children, and women in all age groups, up to 64 years. According to the Naturopathic Doctor News and Review website, approximately 70% of our entire immune system is located in our GI tract. The balance of intestinal flora is crucial to the way in which the immune system develops and functions. For children that are given antibiotics at an early age or don't get the beneficial effects of breastfeeding or a vaginal birth from their mother, the chances for healthy GI function decreases. And in conclusion, they state, naturopathic physicians can potentially make great progress in treating autoimmune diseases in simple ways, including prescribing appropriate probiotics, screening for hormonal dysregulation, and preventing dysregulation in the immune system early in life. Because what's happening here is that there is no connection between the gut and the brain when our nutrients aren't being absorbed correctly. So we've got these kids that are, their brains are starved of nutrition basically, and we put them on medications not realizing that what we need to do is give them nutrients, give them probiotics, get their bellies working right, and then all those nutrients go right up to their brain. We've seen it time and time again, treating children with natural nutrition, that actually works really well. They can get off their medications, and just like me, they heal themselves. The brain is starved of the essential vitamins and nutrients that's needed even for their mundane tasks every day, and yet we send them to school and expect them to perform when they just don't have what they need to get that done. So let's talk a little about what are we putting in our children. Hold on a second. We were having some technical difficulties earlier, so bear with us. Okay, great, here we go. So cereal, soft drinks, and French fries. French fries are the most common source of vegetables for kids today. That shocked me when I was doing this research. I couldn't even believe that. But you know what, actually? I do believe it. Because I have friends all the time who say, my kids won't eat vegetables, you know. But again, we're the parents, right? So we need to be teaching our children the proper way to eat from the time that they're born. That way they don't eat French fries all the time. And what I want to do is share with you for a minute this Happy Meal. So I bought this Happy Meal 2 years ago. And there's a couple things that are scary about it. First of all, here is the hamburger patty. And I can't really... And here's the French fries. The bun. Okay. These things don't decompose. They don't go away because they're overly processed. Now, if I stuck an apple here and I left it for a long time, it would start to decompose, right? Because, well, some of them would, because they also have pesticides on them. But that's what happens here. So that's what's scary, but here's the scariest thing to me. So I was told to keep the receipt so I could show everybody how long I've had this Happy Meal, but when I stuck it in the Happy Meal itself, the grease completely erased the ink on the paper. And that in itself scared me, because I thought, wow, I mean, that's pretty strong stuff right there, right? So this is our children's #1 vegetable food source. And that is just frightening. We need to think about something different. Put a piece of broccoli in their hands. Even if you have to dip in a little bit of ranch dressing to get them to do it. Not a lot, but a little bit, that'd be okay. Better than that option. So we'll move on to the next slide. Thank you. So what are we putting on our kids? So we've all heard of BPA. Has everybody heard of BPA in plastics now? Okay. So BPA has been known to be found in bottles and baby toys, and it is an endocrine disruptor. And children have 11 times more in their bodies than adults, because everything in their little world is plastic, right? So they're playing with a lot of BPA. We wanted them to be safe. You know, back in the day when we all played with lead and Tonka trucks and things like that, and they said, oh no, kids are hurting themselves, we need to make plastic, right? Well, then what we did was we made this BPA plastic. We started letting our kids suck on it. And we're wondering why everybody's getting sick. Well, that's one of the reasons. And then also, what I find it really extremely interesting is the formaldehyde and dioxane that's found in 61% of 28 children's bath soap, shampoos, lotions, and other personal care items. So what we're washing our children with is chemicals. Okay, next. Thank you. So what are we using around our kids? So research shows that indoor air may be polluted as much as 12 times more than outdoor air. Okay, do a quick survey of your house for the biggest asthma triggers: dust mites, mold, pet dander, smoke, as well as strong odors. If someone in your home has asthma, eliminating exposure to secondhand smoke is a no-brainer. But eliminating exposure to the chemicals that we spray around them while we're cleaning our house, people don't think about it. And that's really, that causes a lot of, it just really gets them upset, causes things to happen with their immune systems. So my thing is, if you can smell it, get rid of it. I guess I should really say, if you can smell chemicals in it, get rid of it, because some things smell kind of nice. Other sneakier culprits are called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. And they're emitted from a wide array of home products, including air fresheners, aerosol sprays, pesticides, and paints. And VOCs are largely undetectable, but they cause headaches, throat, eye, nose, and ear irritations. One Spanish study of 3,500 adults found that using aerosol cleaners and air fresheners regularly raises asthma risk by as much as 30 to 50%. So think about that. We have a lot of people in our world right now that have asthma, a lot of children who are affected by it. So I say use only natural cleaners, non-toxic, chemical-free cleaners. Okay, this is a great slide. Sorry, my nose. This is a great slide. This is a children's handwriting test. And so because it's really hard for us to gauge what's happening to our children when we're spraying chemicals around them, this is an old test that people have done for a long time. What they did was they sat Edward down at a table, and they asked Edward to write his name, and he was fine with it. You can see the first one. He wrote his name fine, he feels well, he acts normal. And then they start cleaning with chemical cleaners around him, and he's not the same. He is withdrawn, he's throwing toys, he doesn't want to cooperate, does not want to write his name. And then after they extract, they do what they call extraction therapy, which is they open the windows basically and get everything out of there. And then they ask Edward to write his name again, and he doesn't have red ears anymore, and his behavior is appropriate, and he writes his name. So this is a good gauge for us to do. I mean, I always tell people, I challenge people to do it at your house. If you're using chemical cleaners, sit your kid down and try this test. See what happens. Because I think you're going to be surprised when you see it. And actually, it probably will change your mind about what you're doing in your home. So let's talk a little bit about our food. Is our food safe? It is not. It is really not for the most part. There's a couple reasons why, and you can see them up here. But I'm going to talk about intensive animal farming. So our meat is mass-produced, right? And it's fed antibiotics, and they run all over themselves, and they're not free of anything. And actually, they are given 80% of the antibiotics that are given in our nation are fed to our cattle. Okay, so we're eating that, right? And we're all getting sick, and then we need to go get some antibiotics from the doctor, but they don't work. Why? That's because we are building ourselves an immunity to these antibiotics by eating foods that have been given antibiotics. And then GMOs. Has everybody heard about GMOs in here? Understand what those are? Okay, so genetically modified food. Okay, here's something very scary I found out recently, is that, okay, corn is one of the most genetically modified foods in our nation, okay? Sorry. There's a few, but corn's definitely number one. Now, what the company that shall not be named has done to our corn is put a pesticide. They've genetically modified it. So they've taken the corn and they've inserted the pesticide into it. So when the corn is growing, it automatically is pumping out that pesticide so that way nothing will get to it. But think about that now. They're not even just spraying it. It's genetically in our food, and we are eating that, okay? So we have to be really, really careful about the things that we put in our mouths. Again, it causes DNA damage, and it is an endocrine disruptor. Okay, and now we're going to talk about how to prevent it when we get pregnant. So again, going back to really the basics of it, and how do we grow our children up healthy? We start from the time we get pregnant. So in the first of its kind study, researchers looked at the presence of toxic chemicals in the umbilical cord of 10 newborn babies in U.S. hospitals. Of the more than 400 chemicals tested, 287 were detected in the umbilical cord. Of these, 180 cause cancer in humans, 217 are toxic to the brain and nervous system, and 208 cause birth defects. Scientists refer to the presence of such toxins in the newborn as body burden. And according to the study's authors, had they tested a broader array of chemicals, they would have found more than 287. So here's some more alarming facts. According to the EPA, the air in our home was 12 times more toxic than the outdoor air. I think I already said that. And in a 15-year study conducted by the NCA, they discovered 54% higher cancer risk in women that stay at home or work at home. And that is, again, because they're cleaning with chemicals in the home, and then they're staying in that home environment, which is 12 times more chemical-ridden than the outdoor, right? The American Cancer Society states there's been a 26% increase in cancer over the last 20 years. Okay. So what's in your prenatal vitamin? When the FDA tested 324 multivitamins, 320 were found to have lead in them. And when I went down the list, I'd say almost half of them were prenatal vitamins. So that was kind of scary for me. But what you're looking at is a picture of one of my friends, Angela, who took her doctor-prescribed prenatal vitamin and put it in an oven on low temperature. This is something that people have been doing with vitamins for a long time to test them. And what happened was that black substance oozed out of it. As a matter of fact, she said it smelled so bad in her house that she had to open everything up and she had to take her kids out of the house for about an hour or so to get it to clear out. So what's happened is that vitamins are filled with tar and coal and lead. They have been in the past. They're telling us now that they're removing those things. But this is a very new, she just did this 4 or 5 months ago, so this is a very new vitamin that she got. So then we're talking about, again, how are things being processed that we're eating? How are things being processed that we're putting into our bodies? And going back to my dilemma with doctors putting me on medications, right? And then doctors giving people prenatal vitamins that have those types of things inside of them. So, do you know if there's lead in your children's vitamin? Because again, that's 320 vitamins on that list. And some of them were kids' vitamins as well. Sugar. Oh, my favorite. Sugar, sugar, sugar. 200 years ago, the average American ate only 2 pounds of sugar a year. But you can see we eat a lot more now. So today we eat, the children, actually this was children, 42.5 teaspoons of sugar per day. So I did this earlier and I liked this effect, so I'm going to do it again because I couldn't figure out how to show the sugar, but now I'm going to show it. Ready? 42.5 teaspoons of sugar a day is almost 10 pounds of sugar a week that our children are eating. Does that scare anybody? Right. It's kind of frightening, right? 70% of their immune cells are found in their gut. And sugar, it wipes the gut out of the good stuff that protects them. So we're feeding them a lot of sugar. We're not giving them anything that cleans that sugar out. We're sending them to school, expecting them to behave and do their schoolwork. Think about that. We're just compounding these poor children to not do well in life. That one I like. I like the sugar. And you can go one more, please. Rethink your drink. So does anybody recognize their favorite drink up here?
Big gulp.
Big gulp, somebody says. Anybody else? Okay.
Are those milk cartons?
Those are milk. That is milk. And that's what I was going to talk about because here's the thing, is I just was talking to a gentleman the other day who was absolutely shocked. He said, I had no idea there was sugar in the milk. I didn't know it.
There's sugar in my water?
No, there's no sugar in it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
It's
sure.
just a little label down at the bottom, I think. But yeah, there's sugar in milk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's the thing. When I always go back to when my kids were young because I didn't know all this stuff then. And I used to give my kids juice because soda was a no-no in my house because that's bad for you, right? Bad soda. But look at the juice. It's no better. It's really no better. So we need to watch when we go and give our kids juice in lieu of something else because it's really not the better option. Now, something I just read today and added this in real quick is that I find interesting and I'm really excited about. There was just a new report out that says there is a decline in soda sales in general, just recently. It could be the growing awareness of obesity and growing health concerns. And even diet sodas have suffered because amid the concerns of artificial sweeteners. So, yay, go away soda. Okay, now, oh great, okay. So now this is my, this is my big thing, this is my passion, talking about artificial sweeteners. And one of the reasons why I really hit on this one is because in my research, I found out that aspartame causes gastroparesis in diabetics. Okay, I'm not a diabetic, but guess what my illness is? Gastroparesis. And guess what I always drank? Diet Sprite, because I thought it was better for me than drinking high fructose corn syrup. But then I got ill, and I started realizing that this stuff is not better for me. So I get on my high horse about artificial sweeteners because they're terrible. They're neurotoxins. They're killing us. They are killing us. Sucralose, okay, and we find sucralose in a lot of things. Aspartame's in just about everything, but sucralose is in a lot of things. And it causes gastrointestinal problems, seizures, dizziness, migraines, blood sugar. And this is what I found interesting as well. In 2006, there were only 6 human trials published on sucralose, or Splenda. Of the 6 trials, only 2 of the trials were completed and published before the FDA approved it for human consumption. And out of those trials, they lasted 4 days. 4-day trials. So that's not trying anything, you know, that's not telling us what it's going to do to us at all. That's frightening to me. And then the aspartame that we were going back to, again, birth defects, cancer, diabetes. Also, anybody who's trying to lose weight, if you think that the diet is better for you, it certainly is not, because it is actually worse. It'll help you to retain your weight. And you can see somewhere in there, neuropathy and gastroparesis. That's me. Okay, so then I did want to point this out, that the epilepsy seizures at Massachusetts or MIT, 80 people who had suffered seizures after ingesting aspartame were surveyed. And it says these 80 cases meet the FDA's own definition of imminent hazard to public health, which requires the FDA to expeditiously remove a product from the market. So we're hoping they do that soon. So now let's talk about what we can do. These are the sweeteners that I use in my home. And so we'll start with stevia. Stevia is an all-natural sweetener, no carb and no calorie. It grows in the ground. My husband and I grow it. If we were to just pick the leaves and grind them up and put them in our tea, we could certainly do that. But you can buy it at the store. It's wonderful. It helps lower blood pressure. It has all kinds of absolutely spectacular things. Lowers blood sugar. It has antibacterial properties. The only thing I caution with the stevia is that you don't buy Truvia. I'm picking on brands here. You don't buy Truvia or the stuff you get at Winco because it's processed. And again, I keep going back to the processing of things, right? That's what's really important, is how things are processed. They're processing it, they're bleaching it. They're putting it in a little packet for us. That's not good. So my suggestion would be go find organic liquid stevia, or instead of the crystallized, you can see it looks like sugar. If you get a powdered form of it, that generally is okay as well. And then, caught on my shoe, date sugar. I love date sugar. I can cook with date sugar. I can do all kinds of things with it. It's great stuff. It really is. It's packed with vitamins and minerals, calcium, iron, magnesium. It helps you make you feel full longer because it's full of fiber, it's full of carbs, and protein. It's a good mix of all of them. So you get that all together and not overloading on carbs by any means. And then tired moms can boost their energy with date sugar because it's one of the best energy boosting snacks because they're power packed with 29 grams of natural sugar. And they're also known to help prevent intestinal problems. So you can see why I use some of these products, right? Because they're going to help me with what my ailment is. And then local raw and filtered honey. Now this is my fave. This is my favorite sweetener. And the reason why this is important is because, why is it important that it's local raw and unfiltered, is because the pollen in our area that's what they're using, right? So the bees are coming and they're pollinating, and then we're getting allergies, and then if we use that raw local honey from our area, we build up an immune system to that pollen. So a lot of times people who have really bad allergies, children who have really bad allergies, even this is a great option for them, is to start with a couple teaspoons of honey 2 to 3 months before allergy season starts. And I use it in everything. I put it in my teas. It's my favorite. But it has a lot of really good things that come with it as well. Helps aid in digestion, builds your immune system, relieves pain. Excuse me. Okay, so I might be running through this a little bit fast, but actually I think we're okay. 10 reasons you should take supplements. Well, we just talked about it, right? We eat crap. We eat crap, crap, crap. That's our standard American diet. It just is. It's what we feed our kids. It's what we give our kids. This is what we eat, right? So how can we be healthy? Then soil depletion. We hadn't talked about that before, but our soil in the nation has been overfarmed years and years and years. Not only that, but we put pesticides and insecticides all over it. So the food that is being grown in there is not giving us the nutrition that we need. It certainly isn't giving us what our grandparents used to get, right? And our grandparents used to eat things differently than we did. They used to go get the wheat, right? And they ground it, maybe not my grandparents, but somebody's grandparents ground the stone, the wheat on the stone. So we had a natural wheat. Our cattle was out in the pastures eating, and our pigs and our chickens and all those kind of things, right? And our soil, they didn't put pesticides and things like that on it. So when it grew, I mean, when you guys go to the store, do you see red tomatoes anymore? Does anybody see a red, you're like, oh, that's a nice juicy red tomato? You just don't, because they're like lackluster, right? They're like a off orangish color. And that's because there's no nutrients in the soil. So they're just overgrowing all of this stuff for us to eat. And then also our water depletion. And then low-calorie diets. So this is a good one. And I'm totally not against watching your calories. That makes perfect sense to me. But what happens is they tell us to get on these low-calorie diets, and then what that means is low nutrients, right? We cut out our calories, we cut out nutrients. So there's a fine balance there. If you want to be on a weight loss program or you want to lose a little bit of weight, then you need to find a happy medium with your nutrients. Grain-fed meat and cooked conventional dairy, like we had talked about. Toxin exposures, which we've already talked about as well. Nutrient absorption declines with age. Exercise increases nutrient needs. And that one stands out to me as well because, again, going back to our kids. So our kids are exercising, they're playing, they're out on PE and recess, and then we've got all these extracurricular activities, right? Soccer, and we just load them up full of stuff. But then do we load them up full of the extra vitamins and nutrients and minerals that they need? Are we giving them 10 pounds of sugar? Are we encouraging them to drink water? So supplementation may help you live longer, and it also helps our healthcare expense. If everybody's healthy, we don't pay it on the other end. Long-term bad health is expensive. Okay, let's talk a little bit about vitamins. Vitamins are not created equal. So I've got some more little prompts over here for us. Am I moving around too much, Kevin?
No, you're okay.
Okay, so vitamins are not created equal. First, we're going to talk about synthetic. Synthetic store variety vitamins, like this plastic lemon, right? They are man-made. They have no enzymatic, their enzymes are completely gone. They are imbalanced. They have side effects. And many are coated with shellac, which is nearly totally resistant to the penetration of our stomach. So that hard plastic lemon, right? Then we can go to the natural, unaltered, oops, sorry, I went too far. The natural extracts that you find at the health food store. So that's this. So that's plastic on the outside and juice on the inside, okay? Now that's not much different than the first one we talked about. It has some enzymes in it, but they're weak. It uses chemical or heat extraction, and we'll talk about why that's not good. Artificial colors, flavors, and sweeteners. And natural actually only has to be 15% natural for them to say it's natural, right? So you say natural, We as consumers think it's natural, we go buy it, but in fact it really isn't. So again, that's why I do talk to people about this, because I want you to read your labels. I want you to question your company that you buy your vitamins from, your cleaning supplies, your shampoos, conditioners, things you put on your kit. Ask what's in your stuff. And then we'll go to balanced whole food. So natural, unaltered, plant-sourced vitamins, okay? Strong enzymatic action. They're cooled with no chemical processing. Highest quality raw materials. They feed and improve our cells. They contain phytonutrients that are only found in food. So let me ask you, out of these three, which would you guys rather eat? Plastic filled with juice, the real lemon?
The real lemon.
Real lemon, yeah, me too. Okay, so now we'll go on to talk about what we should be giving our kids every day in supplementation. And first of all, we're going to talk about vitamin D. Especially here in the Pacific Northwest, we do not get enough sun. So we are vitamin D deficient for the most part. Just about any of us could go get some lab work done and we would find we are, unless you're supplementing right now. For adults in the Pacific Northwest, we should have about 5,000 international units of vitamin D a day. So for our kids, we're going to half that, right? If you take a regular multivitamin, it's not even near that. Even if you took one vitamin D tab, they're usually only about 500 milligrams. So you're going to have to take quite a bit of those. And then also going back to, are they natural, chemical? How are they being processed? Vitamin D is really, really important. It's essential for strong bones for children. Helps to build their immune system. Helps to regulate cell growth. Improves cognitive function. So again, going back to that IEP program, having our kids with ADD and whatnot, if we're giving them good supplementation, those things are helping them instead of taking away from them. The other thing is that when we do take medications, we are being depleted of nutrients as well. So if the doctor does put you on something, because sometimes, I do have to say that sometimes, a medication is going to be necessary, but then you need to make sure that you're giving yourself the right nutrients to make up for what that medication is depleting from your body. Chewable vitamin C is essential to building white blood cells, helps prevent the occurrence of colds and flus, and a natural antihistamine. So going back to that immune system and those asthma and allergies. And then omega-3s. Omega-3 is fish oil. And people always think about doing that for people who have heart problems, right? So if you got heart health, they're going to give you fish oil, which I do with people. But we don't think about giving that to our children. And what fish oil does for our kids is different than what it does for adults. Fish oil helps their brain function. So one of the things that we do with children who have problems in school is put them on high doses of fish oil, because it improves their attention, their vocabulary, makes them calmer, helps with dyslexia. 60% of our brain is fat. DHA is an essential omega-3 fatty acid that affects early brain and eye development. Now, let's go to the processing of fish oil, right? Because we know that our fish, we hear it all the time, right? It's got lead, tons of lead, don't eat too much fish. Well, if you get something that's processed correctly, you're not going to worry about those problems, right? So again, ask your company. Is there lead, arsenic, mercury, cadmium, dioxins, PCBs, artificial sweeteners, flavors? Those are all the things that you will find in a fish oil over the counter, just about every time. So be really, really careful, again, about what it is that you're purchasing, right? I always talk to people about vote with your dollars, because that's what we need to do. Vote with your dollars at the store. Spend your money on good stuff. They will start to get rid of the bad stuff, and we will only have the good stuff available to us. That'll be our option. And everybody, because this is what happens. A lot of people say, I can't afford organic. Or I can't do that. It's too expensive. Well, guess what? If we get rid of all the crap, well, this will be affordable for us. It'll be affordable for everybody, right? So that's how we do it. So we'll move on to the next one. Okay, probiotics. And I've already talked about this a little bit. But this is really important because our digestive tract contains more than 100 trillion bacteria. The health of that ecosystem can be very important to our overall health. Gut flora helps us in a lot of ways. They're used to aid in digestive digestion of food, it absorbs nutrients, and many vitamins and minerals are released from the food that we eat by the bacteria in our digestive tract. It's part of our immune system, and it helps to promote healthy intestinal activity, good digestion, colon regularity. So what the probiotic does is it comes in and it kills all that bad bacteria that's in our stomach, okay? So what can we do to help the good bacteria come in then? And then we add a prebiotic to that, okay? And what that does is it increases the number and activity of the probiotics. It enhances nutrient absorption, improves digestion, and restores that intestinal balance. So what to look for in a good probiotic? A published clinical study showing number of bacteria delivered to the intestines, not the stomach. So a lot of times I'll hear people tell me, well, my probiotic has 100 trillion strains of bacteria, or strains of bifidus and acidophilus, and I say, well, but this one only has 500. And I say, okay, well, why don't you tell me where those are being delivered? Are they going to your intestines? Can your company guarantee that that's where it's going? Well, no. Okay, well, if I can tell you my 500 goes where they're supposed to go, does that make sense to you? Okay, well, that's what's happening, is that we're looking at these labels and we're being promised things by manufacturers that are absolutely untrue. So again, I just am challenging you to really look at what you're doing. Look at this stuff. Ask the questions. It's not going to hurt to ask, right? A guaranteed live delivery to the intestines, not just in the bottle. Because that's the other thing, is they'll say, oh, we've got this much in a bottle. Well, that doesn't do any good. If it's not going where it's supposed to go, it doesn't matter how much is in the bottle, right? Excuse me. Okay, so let's talk about a basic child's nutrition program. So what we do when we sit down with parents is we talk to them about putting children on this basic program. And then once they're on the basic program, if that doesn't tend to work the things out, then we start to do very focused programs with them for whatever particular problem that they're having. So a multivitamin. Why a multivitamin? Because it covers all bases. Sorry, I need to take a drink. So it's going to get our kids everything that they need in their body as a base, right? And then we talk about soy supplementation. So this is really important. This is something that helped me get over my gastroparesis. I drink a soy protein shake every single morning. I almost couldn't eat anything at one point except for a shake in the morning. And because it's a rich vegetable protein source, 95% of every one of our cells is protein. Now, with that said, everybody's freaked out about soy, right? Because going back to corn being one of the most genetically modified crops in our nation, soy is another one, okay? How are we processing it, okay? So let's look for a company who is cool processing it and washing it with water, because what really happens in most soy that we get over the counter is that they heat process it and they wash it in isopropyl alcohol, okay? So what happens when we put broccoli in a steamer and we steam it for way too long, we forget about it on the stove, and then we come back and it's mush? Is there any nutrients left in that broccoli? We've all been taught that, right? Like, okay, we can't overcook your vegetables. Well, that's exactly what happens with our soy protein. And soy is a legume. So it's just a vegetable, right? It grows on a vine like every other bean does. And then we take it and heat process it and wash it in alcohol. And I kind of liken it to white bread. So we take the grains, right? And then they bleach it and they remove everything from the bread, and then they enrich it. That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Why would we not just use the original plant-based nutrients that are in that food, right? So no different with soy. So be careful when you're using soy. I hear that a lot when I talk to people about it. They'll say, oh my gosh, I can't do soy. You're right. Be afraid of it. But if you get a good, high-quality soy with a company that guarantees that it is what it says, then you don't have to worry about it. It's actually a really, really good thing for us. And then vitamin C, which we talked about before. It helps to prevent viruses and ear infections, all kinds of things. It'll help us to, just had a little bit of a cold. I'll share this with you real quick. I had a little bit of a cold I got on Saturday. I haven't been sick in a year and a half, and of course right before my talk. And that's probably has a little bit to do with stress, but that's okay. But I started immediately taking heavy-duty amounts of vitamin C and doing a detox. Okay, so I took a lot of alfalfa, I do all kinds of things like that. And then I also did something that was a little bit off the beaten path, and it worked, but I'll throw it out there. Somebody had told me to take, my husband takes garlic tablets for his high blood pressure, and they said crush up a few of those, mix it with coconut oil, paste it on the bottom of your feet, put some socks on and wear it to bed. I was like, it's not gonna hurt, right? I mean, what can it do? First night I did that, woke up the next day, I felt a ton better. So Saturday I woke up sick, did it Saturday night, Sunday, woke up, felt better. Sunday night did it, Monday, felt a ton better. Okay, here I am Tuesday. Do I sound good? I have barely any cough. I'm doing a little bit of it because I'm a little heated up here. But, I mean, amazing, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. No medications. I didn't go run for Tylenol. I didn't get the Benadryl. I didn't go to the store and tell somebody to get me something stuffy, achy, sneezy so I could rest medicine, right? None of that. I just used what I already had in my pantry. I just brought out that natural stuff and I started overloading myself with it. And 3 days later, I feel fine. So that's the things, that's again what I'm trying to encourage people to do, is just look outside of the box. Don't go running for the easy thing. Just really try to look for what's best for you, right? Okay, and then what else do we have? Oh, acidophilus and bifidus, which is again that pro and prebiotic. Okay, why is a basic nutrition program important for children? Well, it's just common sense. Is everything I've said up here pretty much make sense to everybody? I mean, if I said anything that anybody thinks is like, no way, that's totally off her rocker, she's crazy. It doesn't, it makes common sense. It makes perfect sense. It fills in the nutritional gaps of today's lifestyle, builds immunity, especially necessary for proper brain development and learning ability, and it just makes for happier children and parents. Because when my child is not on ADD medication with headaches and not being able to sleep, I'm happier, right? When my kid's only sick for 2 days instead of 2 weeks, I'm happier, and so is my child. Okay, I keep waiting for my turn. Okay, quality nutritional supplementation, what does that mean? So you've heard me talk a lot about processing in this talk, right? Because that's like my thing. It's how is it processed? How is it processed? Is your supplement that you're using being absorbed and assimilated? So if we're eating this every day, and it's just going down, it's sitting right here in our gut, right? It's not breaking up because it's shellac. It's not going anywhere. We're not getting any nutrients from it. It's not going down into our intestines. It's not going into our brain. It's not breaking up. And what I really wish I would have done was shown you, brought my vitamin and then another vitamin. This was more geared towards children, so I was trying to keep it that way, and their vitamins look a little bit different. But I can tell you now that I've done it before, and if I put that prenatal vitamin we saw earlier in a glass of water, and I put my vitamins that I take, in about 5 minutes, my vitamins have been completely dissolved. And I guarantee you a day to 2 days later, this is still going to be sitting there. So every day, I'm putting this in. Every day, another one, another one, another one. How many are in there? We don't even know. And not only are they not helping us, but they're hurting us because they're processed. They have fillers and they have shellac on them and they're sitting in our gut. So, is it being absorbed? Is it being assimilated? How can you tell? How can you tell? Do you feel better when you take your vitamin? Because you should. If you don't tell a major difference, then your vitamin's not working for you. Is the manufacturer using a cooling system? Going back to that, heating it and then enriching it. When somebody enriches it, we don't know what they're putting in it. They say, oh, we put vitamins. What does that mean? What vitamins? How much are you putting in? Where'd you get your vitamins from? How does the Wonder Bread people have vitamins? I gotta know. Where do they get them from? Okay, and then are there fillers used in stabilizing the product? So you can see there, coal tar, petroleum byproducts. Those things are in vitamins that you find in the retail shelf. They absolutely are. You can go and research it. Everything I've shown you here today, I do want to ask you guys again, go out and look, test me, challenge the information that I'm giving you. Prove me wrong. I'd love you to. And then give me a call and tell me all about it. We'll chat. Okay, is the soy GMO and heat processed? So again, when I was talking about heat processing and GMO on the soy, so we already kind of touched on that. And then is there a full money back guarantee? So if these things don't work for you, does your company give you your money back? If you went to Rite Aid and bought a bottle of vitamins and you ate them all and you brought them back the empty bottle, do you think you're going to get your money back? No, they're not going to give it back to you. So what you need to do is you're partnering with a company that says, I want you to eat them all to see if they work, and when they don't, then I'm going to give you your money back, right? Because that's somebody that truly, that's a company that really knows that their product works. They put a guarantee behind it. So with that said, I'm going to share with you the company that I have partnered with because it's changed my life. It really has, and I believe changing brands can change your life. Can't explode. I love that. I had to share that with you. So that was talking about Shackley. That is who I chose to brand with. The reason why is I did the research. Shackley's been in business for over 58 years. They are the #1 natural nutrition company in the United States. The reason they can make that claim is they have over 90 plus peer-reviewed clinical studies. The universities in the nation love to get a hold of Shackley. UC Berkeley is one of the biggest testers of our products. We win medals. As a matter of fact, 10 of the 24 medals that were just won in Sochi were won by Peer Performance Team, Shackley's Peer Performance Team. The thing that stands out there again for me is that they get tested, these Olympians. They get tested by WADA, and they're all over everywhere. When I was in Nashville, we had 5 Olympians, the Dumais brothers, 5 divers, and they came to visit with us and tell us their story. And they said WADA follows them all over everywhere they go to drug test them. And at 2 o'clock in the morning at Nashville, when they had just gotten to their hotel, there was a knock on the door, and they were asked to drug test. But they don't worry about it because they know that Shackley's completely clean. They don't have to worry about being drug tested. NASA came to Shackley 20 plus years ago and said, we need a hydration drink for our astronauts when they come back into the atmosphere. And we know that you guys, nobody does it like you. So please make us a nice, clean product. And we did. We came up with something called AstroAid. It's actually available to us as well. It's called Performance. It's formulated a little bit different because we don't need all the things that astronauts need. Our cleaning products are in the White House. And Oprah has featured our cleaning products on her show 5 times. They're actually one of her favorite things. Over 100,000 quality tests per year. And what that means is that Shackley is testing one of their products every 6 minutes in their lab. And that is all the way from the botanical ingredient itself through the processing to the very end. And what happens is if something doesn't test out right, they're not making that. They are going to stop production, try to find the best product that will test out correctly. They will not put it on the shelf. That's a guarantee. And that's something that really sticks out to me because most companies won't do that. And what happens, I mean, they could lose a lot of money potentially, right? And what happens is when Shackley says, no, we don't want that ingredient, they just take it to the next place. So, you're gonna get that anyway. We've had #1 climate neutral corporation in the United States, and what that means is that we were the first, and I think we're still the only, climate neutral building. So we don't use petroleum products in the processing of our products. That didn't really come out right. And we've won more environmental awards than any other U.S. corporation, so very fitting for Earth Day. And really, that's pretty much the end of my presentation, but I do have a challenge to you. And that's to make small steps each day to ensure that your family is protected from the things that we just talked about, right? Everybody can't go out and, I'm kind of gung-ho, right? So everybody can't go out and be like me. Everybody's not going to go out and change out everything today. But what I'm asking you to do is try something very small each and every day. Change out the juice for water today. Change out the bad vitamin for a good vitamin. You know, each day you do something different, and in a year you've changed everything out. It's really simple that way. We call it the trickle effect, right? You can go to healthychallengeforyou.info, and I have some tips there on how to make those small changes in your life. So if you get like, well, what should I do? I don't know what it is. You can just go to that, and I have that on there for you. What else I have? Well, special thanks to the people that helped me with my research. Actually, I did the research, but they gave me the information. And then that's really it. So at this point, I think I'll just open it up to see if anybody has any questions for me. A lot of information, huh? Information overload. Everybody needs their vitamins now?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Well, that is really all that I have. So I want to thank you all again for coming tonight. Thank you for your attention. I am available to speak with anybody about any questions that you might have. I do health assessments. I can come in and do toxic interventions in your home. I can go with you to the grocery store. Uh-oh. I can go with you to the grocery store and we can read labels. We can go through your cabinets and see what's good and what's bad and ugly and whatnot. So I offer that up to you. There's some things in the back if you guys want to look at the visuals back there. And there's also a sign-up sheet if you're interested in coming to any other classes, lectures, or any of the events that I have. You can put your name and email back there and I can get a hold of you that way. So thank you again.
Great job, Kimberly. Wow, you had a lot of information for us there. That's great.
Everybody's like, ah.
No other questions? Yeah, be sure to get your brochures and everything in back, and for Teresa's also in back. And we thank you so much for coming. Have a great night.